He's been doing that since before it got started.
Turn off my phone. Like, I don't know what to do. And then
Okay. Yeah, it's fine.
Was it 5?
It's past
Yeah, that's what it is. You're the
5:01.
Okay. 5:05? Oh, good. Well, hello, everyone. Missed everybody on Sunday. So I'm calling this official Committee of the Whole meeting of the Kalamazoo City Commission to order for Monday, February 20th. Clerk Barling, please call the roll.
Commissioner Decker.
Present.
Commissioner Hess.
Present.
Commissioner Hoffman. Commissioner Juarez.
Present.
Commissioner Pradel.
Present.
Vice Mayor Cooney.
Present.
Mayor Anderson.
Here. May I please have a motion to excuse Commissioner Hoffman?
Moved.
Support.
Motion made by Commissioner Decker, is that right? And supported by Commissioner Pradel. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Oppose? Nay? All right. Manager Ritzman, do we have any communications?
No, I don't, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. We are now at the time on our Committee of the Whole agenda for public comments. So we will start with public comments from anyone who's here in the chambers who'd like to make a public comment for this meeting. Just a reminder that there is also a public comment period that occurs during our business meeting, which will be starting at 7 o'clock. So if you have any comments for this meeting, outside of obviously all of you that are here to present, please come forward, state your name and whether you live in the city, and you may call in as well. The call-in number is 888-382-9556. Anyone in the chambers who wanted to provide any comments for this Committee of the Whole meeting? See no one. Deputy City Manager Chamberlain, has anybody called in?
We'll go ahead and check. We do not.
Thank you, DCM Chamberlain. Appreciate it. Next, we are down to our work session for this evening then. Manager Ritzman.
Well, thank you, Mayor. And this evening, we are going to be looking at housing again, but this time from our local housing partners. So I'm going to ask Antonio Mitchell, our Community Planning Economic Development Director, to come forward and introduce our guests. And are you MC for the night then too? Okay.
Welcome, Director Mitchell.
It's still not, yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's
Now,
going on.
we'll take it from the...
I was trying to carry my voice. I was like, it's not working. It's not working. Ms. Parsons is going to come up and she's going to MC this whole process. And we're going to have our partners and housing organizations that we collaborate with to do their presentations and be ready to answer your questions and give you some feedback. So, Ms. Parsons.
Hi, Sherilyn Parsons.
Hi, I'm Sherilyn Parsons, Housing Development Supervisor. Good evening. Tonight we have some of our strategic partners with us that help us to preserve and build housing. These are incredible partners who focus on both senior, families, working in the core neighborhoods and throughout the city. And these are the strategic partners that we work with to really build capacity. As the city we don't build and swing a hammer, myself, I'm sure someone does in the city, but y'all don't want me doing it. And so these are the partners. We've set up a PowerPoint, asked each partner to present about 10 minutes, allowing some time for questions. And so I have invited Kalamazoo Neighborhood Housing Services. I will ask if they will come up, introduce themselves and their team. We've invited Housing Resources, Inc., Community Homeworks, and Milestone Senior Services tonight. So I believe our presentation starts with Kalamazoo Neighborhood Housing Services. And so if KNHS will come up. Let me just advance the slide by hitting that button.
Welcome,
Hello,
nice to have you here.
Thank you. Thanks for having us, Commissioners, City staff. My name is Matt Milzarek, and I have our newly appointed Executive Director, Beth McCann, with us, as well as April Munyan-Shangori, our Home Ownership Services Director. All right, so I'm going to take a few moments here to tell you all about Kalamazoo Neighborhood Housing Services. KNHS is a chartered member of NeighborWorks America, operating in Kalamazoo for over 40 years. When I started with this agency a decade ago, I think the number one question people asked me was, what does KNHS do? And it's been my pleasure for the last decade to answer that question to many folks, and I will spend the next few moments answering that question for you all tonight. So KNHS is a HUD-certified housing counseling agency with 7 HUD-certified coaches on our staff. This team teaches classes and conducts one-on-one coaching in both financial capabilities and the home buying process. This curriculum covers everything from managing your home budget to navigating the sales and financing process on your home purchase. Our program plays the long game with our clients, and we often work with residents for as long as it takes to get them over the finish line. In 2022, we counseled over 300 clients towards their goal of homeownership, and we celebrated 73 new homeowners. In addition to our pre-purchase services, KNHS offers post-purchasing coaching and serves as the regional foreclosure prevention agency. In 22 alone, we helped 45 clients avoid foreclosure. Helping residents avoid foreclosure can range anywhere from navigating them through the process to prevent a foreclosure to direct financial support, such as helping with delinquent mortgage payments and back taxes. In 22, we saw an increase in direct support thanks to grants from the City of Kalamazoo via their partnership with United Way. KNHS is a mortgage originator with dedicated lending and loan servicing staff on our team. Our lending services can range anywhere from taking out a small loan to help with your home rehab that you need to converting your land contract into a conventional mortgage. Our lending team also delivers our down payment assistance program. This needs-based program helps cover closing costs and bridge the affordability gap that many of our buyers face. Down payment assistance is often what makes homeownership a reality. In 22, our partnership with the city allowed us to deploy over $133,000 in city CDBG funds for down payment assistance and bring in over $180,000 in down payment assistance to the community from outside sources. Our lease purchase program is another program that was started in partnership with the City of Kalamazoo over a decade ago. This program fully rehabilitates distressed housing and allows buyers to rent the home they plan to buy while they work on becoming mortgage ready with their coach. Most recently, KNHS has partnered with Open Doors Kalamazoo and the city to create the Pathway Home Kalamazoo program. This program aims to take buyers from homelessness to homeownership as each agency and entity plays to their strengths, working with residents on their goal of homeownership. KNHS builds and rehabs homes. In '22, we had over $1.4 million invested in completed new construction homes that were sold to low-income buyers. Focusing on infill housing, this program aims to fill the gaps in our blocks and regain the density lost over the past 15 years since the housing crash. This program would not be possible without strong support from the City of Kalamazoo and all of our Kalamazoo Attainable Homes Partnership members, such as the HBA of Southwest Michigan, Consumers Energy, LISC, and the Kalamazoo County Land Bank. In '22, we had 16 homes in various stages of rehabilitation. Our full home rehab program takes distressed, often vacant homes and brings them back into viable use for low-income buyers. Homes are either sold outright to income-qualified buyers or placed into our lease purchase and pathway programs for buyers that need a little more time. This program is supported by the City of Kalamazoo in a variety of means, utilizing home funds, FFE funds, and most recently, ARPA funds. Homeowner rehab is a vital component of stabilizing our neighborhood housing markets. This is a program that we're very proud of at KNHS. We focus our rehab efforts on larger, costlier home repairs that are often unattainable for low-income residents. Our roof program, supported by the City of Kalamazoo, helped 33 homeowners with a roof replacement they needed in '22. In addition to roofs, we operate a lead-based paint hazard remediation program in partnership with the City of Kalamazoo. Recently awarded funding for another 4 years from HUD, this program saw 15 projects completed in '22 with another 10 underway. So I've given you the broad strokes of what we do. I know our time is limited, so I left the rest of the time for questions and answers, and I certainly have a handout here. Did you hand those out, okay? There's a handout with additional information, has some demographics and other things we couldn't fit on a slide up here. So, yeah.
Thank you very much, Matt. Are there questions from commissioners for Matt or anyone here from KNHS? Commissioner Decker.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for presenting. It's kind of funny. I just called today to talk about some things. I do have a question, though. So how often do you guys offer these programs to the public? Is it on a need basis? Do you guys have schedules, calendars, once a month, once a year?
Well, we have, depending on the program, is a little different answer. Our home ownership and coaching is offered year-round. So we have monthly classes that we for financial capabilities and home ownership, and then coaching one-on-one is conducted year-round. With certain programs like our new build program, that is certainly funding dependent, and those homes are made available as soon as the construction is complete. Our homeowner rehab program for lead, it's open year-round. With roofing, it often closes during the winter. We tend to only have enough funding for a certain part of the year anyway, so during the winter months when construction's not happening, we tend to close that program down and reopen in the spring.
With the individuals that you help, what is the record, right, of these individuals once they get into a home? Do you find that they're still there, or is there a lot of turnover? Do you assist them and say 2 years get them into the home, and a year there, something may have happened? So you say you stay with them for how long was that? 1 year afterwards?
As many years as it takes. I mean, they're homeowners. I can think of examples where we worked with them for 5 years before they were ready to purchase a home. And then we consider our clients lifelong. So once you've purchased that home, we're still going to work with you, whether it be on budgeting down the road or foreclosure prevention. We definitely have a higher success rate than the open market when it comes to folks keeping their homes. And certainly having that relationship with our agency already, with us being a foreclosure prevention agency, is very beneficial to those customers. I don't know if either of you want to add anything to that.
I'm Beth McCann. Excuse me. We're often on someone's radar they've been a home buyer for 10, 15 years. Now maybe they need a roof. So they come back into the KNHS family to get a roof or to get a critical home repair. So we stay with them. And for many of our clients, we're on the third generation of someone in their family that's accessing one of the KNHS services.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Commissioner Juarez.
yeah, I was very fortunate to be part of some of the programs there. The house we have that we own now, we leased it for 3 years, and the program that was housed at Urban Alliance at the time was really a really good program. And I think part of like what I want to know is like outreach efforts, like because for me, I think targeted approaches, like targeting individuals, because financial literacy is a big thing for me, right? That is a huge component for me as a city commissioner, pushing that in this city to help people become financially sustainable, right? I come from poverty, extreme poverty, right? I used to go to the gospel mission to drop in. We live that way, right? I got 10 brothers and 3 sisters. A lot of people know my story. The reality is that people need this kind of support, especially amongst the African American community and Hispanic community, right? I wasn't taught financial stuff. Now I am, I just lost my father, and he didn't have life insurance. I have life insurance. My wife has life insurance. My kids have life insurance, right? But that wasn't something that we were taught, growing up in the household, especially when living in extreme poverty, right? And so when it comes to outreach and targeting like those approaches, what efforts do you guys have that can speak to that?
A lot of what we do is a variety, as far as outreach, comes from a variety of sources. We certainly work with partner agencies in the community, neighborhood associations, trying to get the word out that way, and direct marketing as well. But I'd say our most successful marketing is that community word of mouth. When you've been around for 40 years and you've had hundreds and hundreds of buyers in the community who can say, yeah, when I bought my house, I went to KNHS, that word of mouth is probably the number one source. But certainly working with those partner agencies helps as well. And we always strive to find new and improved ways to reach historically disadvantaged parts of the community, because you are absolutely right. When it comes to generational poverty, those are the educational components that have been missing in many households. So,
How many financial coaches do you guys have?
7.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. And their caseload is like?
Come on.
We have approximately 400 active clients, so that's there might be a few more foreclosure. Then mainly it's home buyer education or home buyers, home ownership. So it's spread out between the 7.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
I'll give someone else a chance. I'll come back to you. Commissioner Hess.
You talk about your capacity. Is there at all a waiting list? You have 400 clients that you're currently working with. Is there a waiting list, or no? You're serving anybody who comes through the door?
Yes, so typically we have about 20 to 25 new clients who take the home buyer education class every month. And we're definitely able to work with all of those when they have their intake appointment. Once they take the home buyer education class, they do have an intake appointment where we go over things like their baseline budget, review their credit, we figure out their approximate affordability, and then we do an action plan as well. So we follow the HUD certified guidelines as part of our guidelines.
Fantastic.
And so, yeah, there is no waiting list for clients.
Great. And just another reason that Kalamazoo is an education city. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, and we added 2 coaches this past year, so.
Awesome.
To meet demand, yeah.
Perfect.
Commissioner Pradel.
Thank you, Mayor. We had a retreat on Saturday, and one of the topics that came up was lead paint remediation in the home, or lead remediation in the home. And we were just talking about this, very expensive to do for each home. Can you speak to, what is the typical investment in each house to make that important work happen?
I believe right now the average price of a lead remediation project is somewhere between $34,000 and $38,000. With that price ranging anywhere from $15,000 on the low end, maybe $10,000 on the low end to all the way up, sort of sky's the limit, 80, 100 grand on the high end.
Cool, thank you. You talked a little bit about down payment assistance. You had some of that information there on the slide. Can you speak a little bit about why down payment assistance might be more vital now than ever, in terms of need in the community?
Yeah, so with that down payment assistance, it helps to bridge the gap between what the price is of a house and what the buyer is able to be approved for. And so that's definitely one of the selling points for being part of the KNHS classes is, oh, we heard about the down payment assistance. So down payment assistance through KNHS, as well as with MSHDA down payment assistance as well. So it's that, gets them over the finish line, definitely.
Are you noticing with like increases in interest rates and housing prices, are you seeing that more people are coming needing that gap financing?
Yes, definitely, definitely.
Perfect. And then lastly, I was just going to ask you, are there any, you're involved in a lot of areas of housing. Do you see any existing gaps or needs that maybe our community needs more of, or that you all specifically at KNHS feels like there potentially might be a shortage or gaps in the coming year and coming years that we should be thinking about?
I'm sure each of us would probably have our own answer, so I'll let my colleagues also answer. For me, it's always that homeowner rehab component. Obviously, this, Commissioner Pradel, through your work. There's no limit, to the need. We focus largely on roofs and lead, but siding, windows, weatherization, HVAC. I mean, the housing stock in Kalamazoo is in dire need of an uplift, and certainly we're proud of the work we do, but there's always room for more.
I would just say from the financial standpoint, we can always use more financial classes, more coaching, which we are eager and willing to do more classes where, a lot of our clients come in at the beginning of the home ownership process where they're just getting started and they know some about money and how to manage it, but not that much. And so once they take our classes, they're like, oh, wow. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I didn't know this. And so just getting the word out and just, being willing to just sit down with people, kneecap to kneecap and having those discussions now that, we're kind of past a little bit past the COVID and, now we're back in person, meeting with people at the office. That's so important.
I'll take, I'll take the triad of lending. We can always use more dollars for down payment assistance to buy out bad land contracts, to get that last portion of a roof repair or roof replacement. That's really the thing. As April said, it gets them over the finish line. We expect, looking at our pipeline right now, between 58 and 62% of those actively in the pipeline will need some kind of down payment assistance. Last year, the average was $8,400. We're looking at probably this year, the average would be $10,000 per client. So when you look at the interest rates, you look at the market, you look at the availability and the competition, that is something that we will always need more of. And that, as April said, that is why people come to KNHS. Word on the street is that we have down payment assistance, and that is one of the biggest things that brings people in.
Are you set, Commissioner Pradel? Vice Mayor Cooney.
Yeah, that was going to be my question. You guys are doing wonderful work, but we know every day that there's so many people in the community that are in search of shelter and needing shelter. So I was going to ask that, what you see as next steps. What do you do to reach out to the poorest communities in the city? How do you let people out there know what your folks are doing?
So our new program, which is the Pathway program, we just celebrated the first anniversary in October of 2022. So that is one of the ways that we're looking at targeting those who who are in that salary range, to just talk more about financial capabilities. We do have a match savings program where they save 1,000, we match that, we double that, or 2 to 1, 2 to 1. Yep, and just working with them more than a traditional home buyer client. Yeah, so with the Open Doors program, of course, with the people who are working with them, and also trying to just get them to that lease purchase. A lot of people are ready to move from an apartment to go to a home that they're going to be purchasing. So that lease purchase program is very important as well.
And if I can, I just want to make a statement.
I was just going to give second chances. I'll start with Commissioner Decker, yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. So you say sometimes you have individuals that come to you that are at the beginning stages of their process. It could take up to 5 years. So you guys work with financial institutions also, or are you just?
Yeah, so we have lenders who come and present at our homebuyer education class. We're also partnering now with Horizon Bank as well as PNC, just to do some partnerships with financial coaching and financial capabilities in the area.
Have any of those organizations or financial institutions talked to you guys about the House Bill of 4290? That's good. Awesome, good to hear. Because for individuals that don't know, they're paying attention, HB 4290 is a bill that was signed by the Governor Whitmer, and what that does is that enables an individual to open up a savings account, which you can put up to $50,000 into that, and you can use that for the purchase down payment of a home. Tax-free from what I understand, but if you want more information, please look that up, HB 4290, because I don't want to give any information here. So it's good to hear that you guys are having those conversations as we start to build more homes within the city of Kalamazoo and also within the county here. And I feel like you guys are have always been energized to create a resolution to encourage the development of our existing housing stock here, and I appreciate that.
Okay. Commissioner Juarez?
Yeah, go ahead. You have something?
We're really fortunate to have good lending and real estate partners with us. So part of the process is we coach, we don't counsel. So when speakers come in and talk, they talk about the process. They don't talk about necessarily their particular company. They talk about what it's like to be in the lending industry, how to work with the lender, how to work with the realtor. So it's very neutral. We don't steer anybody to any particular lender or realtor, but we do talk to them about available programs that different lenders have. There are some lenders in town that have better mortgage products for low to moderate income than others. So we make them aware of how to shop for those services. On the back end, supporting KNHS, many of our local financial institutions financially support us as well, which is nice. Philanthropy is very generous in that way to KNHS.
And I just thought about this, right? And KNHS and the programs they provide, it feels like you have to be a certain type of individual, right? You have to be at a certain place. And for me, I thought I wasn't ready to buy a house, right? I thought I was way off, right? And a lot of times people don't understand that the discipline that you can just operate from will get you to a place where you really don't know. My process took about 8 months, and I was like, holy smokes, I didn't realize it was that fast. But, somewhere on the spectrum of like homelessness to home ownership, KNH, they can deal with certain individuals who are ready for that, right? And almost ready for that, and take them from, but we still have a gap between homelessness and that process, right? And we have a gap from still with, the housing stock in that process from, having the understanding and getting the education to home ownership. And so I think as we look at these processes and we see the spectrum of housing and people, home ownership and people being taken care of, like, I love what you guys do at KNHS. It helped me and my family. My sons and my daughters will know and live in a reality of not having to think about poverty as an issue because of people like them, right? And we need more programs like that. We need more capacity, like more output, more programs, more everything. It feels like that should be our heart, home ownership, right? When somebody buys a house, it changes the way they think. When I bought my house, it changed my mindset. What else can I buy? Well, I bought an F-150, a 2017 truck. I love the thing, right? What else can I buy? You know, what else can I do? How much more can I discipline myself, right? And so, very important programs to have. Thank you so much for the work you guys do.
Thank you. Just to tell you a quick story, we had a gentleman that bought a home at the end of December. He'd been a long-term renter with us. He's in his 60s. He never thought he would own a home. And because we had dollars, and he didn't have an AMI, didn't have the income, didn't have all of the check boxes to buy a home. But because we had federal funds from CDFI, we were able to take out the first mortgage for him and get him in a home. I had the honor of being at his closing, and tears in his eyes, tears in my eyes, as he was signing all the documents. And he said, you know, this was a dream I never thought I would have. I never thought I'd be part of the American dream. So, you know, hugs all around. The following Monday, he comes into the office with his granddaughter, who is 18 years old, and he says to her, I want you to get into the financial capability class now, because it's never too early to start learning how to budget, to your point, and how to save money. And he said, so when you're ready, when you're 25 or 26 and you want to buy your home, you're going to know more than I did. And that's what Matt talks about with word of mouth. Those are the stories that, you know, we love all our home buyers, but those are the ones that really make us proud.
Other questions? Just a look ahead moment. So one thing for me, I had the opportunity to be on the KNHS board for 6 years until I was term limited off. I don't know if that's still the case for your board members, but that was years and years ago. It was a great honor and a pleasure for me to serve during that time. So I've gotten, you know, to be, you know, very aware of the great work that you do. And obviously the city cannot do this work without partners. That's in many cases where the rubber hits the road, and that's what you do. But just briefly, as we're looking ahead here in 23, is this going to be another year like your great 2022? See any problems or challenges going forward? Just a little bit of projection for this year.
Well, I think with home ownership, our numbers are increasing. We anticipate our classroom numbers are really a good indication of hopefully how many home buyers we're going to have. So while we were flat during COVID, we did see a 17% increase going into 22. So we will at least stay at that level, economy willing, if not increase. I think the challenge always is on Matt's side of the house, cost and availability of labor. So that really hurt KNHS in many ways. And during COVID, when you have a lumber package for a house double with no warning, all of those things have an impact on it. But we have you were on the board, you know we have a very fiscally responsible, conservative board. We watch our pennies, and we are planning ahead for that. So we're looking for controlled growth, not anything crazy, because we want to make sure that we have the capacity to do work and to do it well.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So if we think about housing as the ecosystem, the next guest that I would like to introduce, I think Jacob's here. Ah, yes, he's back there, my other side. Housing Resources, Inc. And so I want to just, in response to Commissioner Juarez and what he was saying about some of those front-end gaps, KNHS being pre-purchase and home ownership, I want to introduce the other side of the housing ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you for having us. My name is Jacob Beach. I'm the Associate Director at Housing Resources, and we have had the pleasure of serving Kalamazoo for the past 40 years with the mission of assurance for housing for socially and economically vulnerable people of Kalamazoo County. Through that, we offer a diverse... Perfect. That we offer a diverse... sorry about that. We offer diverse programming that helps people stay in their housing and have people exit homelessness into housing through rapid rehousing, permanent supportive housing, and prevention programs. Today, specifically, I'm here to talk to you about the Emergency Rental Assistance Program, which we have had the honor of partnering with the City of Kalamazoo with Community Development Block Grants through coronavirus. This program had an open application period through October 11th through November 11th that targeted households that have been affected by COVID-19 who are now at the risk of eviction, whether that be a loss of income, change in their household status, but we're now facing eviction, and we're actively in the court process. So we had a notice to quit and an eviction case filed against them. Through this program, we've been able to offer up to 6 months of assistance to these households in a combination of back and future rent. We know that just paying back rent doesn't necessarily stabilize a household, so programs like this that allow us to provide future rental subsidies allow us not only to save a household's housing, but give them an opportunity to stabilize and provide some short-term assistance to hopefully allow them to get back on their feet and continue paying their rent. Like I mentioned, we had an application period of 30 days to allow residents of the City of Kalamazoo to apply for these funds. During that month, we had outreach events at Urban Alliance, the North Hyde Neighborhood Association, the Edison Neighborhood Association, really working to reach out to the community, as well as partner with our courts to make sure those who were actively in eviction were able to apply for these funds while the application period was open. During those 30 days, we received a total of 304 applications. Of that, we had denied 139 of those, a majority of those being outside of the city. Many of you know of the COVID Emergency Rental Assistance Program, or the SARA program, which was available to Kalamazoo County residents through March of 2021 till October of 2022. So that program provided millions of dollars of assistance to Kalamazoo County residents, which is now over. So we are at a crisis where we have a lot of households who have been receiving assistance through the SARA program, which is now over. So these households would not be eligible. The households that received the ERAP program would not have been eligible for any other assistance. And this assistance is not available across the county. So these funds specifically allowed us to assist residents of the City of Kalamazoo in stabilizing their housing who elsewhere might not have any other assistance available to them. So when you look at the applications we denied, a majority of those were for not being City of Kalamazoo residents, but being within the county. Of those, we have, as of today, this was February 9th, completed 60 of those applications and have 105 remaining to process. With those 60 processed applications, we have provided $188,000 of assistance, and that again is a combination of back rent payments, so those who had balances with landlords, and a combination of rental subsidies, in addition to offering case management to those 60 households. We have another $63,000 promised to landlords that have been allocated for future rental assistance. So we have, as of February 9th, processed about $252,000 worth of direct client assistance to landlords and residents of the City of Kalamazoo, which breaks down to a rough average of $3,100. We have seen with the end of the SARA program that we have tenants coming through with incredibly large balances. And so having a program like the ERAP that is funded through the city has allowed us to provide a higher level of assistance that might not be else available, to where we typically, outside of having these funds, would not be able to assist at necessarily that high of level, as prevention funds are limited within our agency and are spent rather quickly because of the level of need. Again, this is a wrap of our Emergency Rental Assistance Program. I would love to be able to answer any questions you might have for me.
Questions for Jacob, commissioners. Vice Mayor Cooney.
Jacob, thanks for the wonderful work you folks have been doing for the last 40 years. So you're talking about one program here.
Correct.
You have many more programs.
Correct.
Right? But I'm here, this is I always hear this, that you can help 1 out of 10 people to come to your door. Is that right? That you just don't have the resources to deal with the others?
I would say it's probably about higher more than 1 out of 10, but based on the level of households that we have coming seeking for assistance, we do not have the resources to assist everyone in need. There are households that we are not going to be able to assist just because of the level of resources we have. So there are a number of community members that will come to seeking services to us that we will not be able to assist simply because of high rents or no funds available that really meet their needs.
So what do you, okay, this is a huge gap here. So what do you see as next steps? What can help to get those that you don't have the resources for and other programs don't have? What do we need to close those gaps? What can we do next steps? Outside of the federal government taking their responsibility, which they're not.
That is quite a big question. I think in Kalamazoo specifically, we are at a housing crisis. When you talk about affordable housing and housing that meets our MSHDA and HUD fair market rents, which we know are lower than what our market rents are hitting, once someone passes our fair market rents, that allows us not to be able to assist in any sort of way. So we see. We are asking landlords to take price cuts of what the market rent is for us to be able to assist households getting into it. So I think the continued work to increase our housing stock is obviously one step, but more local funds that allow us the flexibility and the ability that some of our federal and state funds don't. And just having a more diverse programming, because like when we have a household come through our system, we make sure we assess them for all available funds and try to match them with the program that's going to give them the highest level of assistance. So the more options we have, the more people we're able to help.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Cooney. Commissioner Hess.
So, Jacob, thank you for being here. And I know that you have a fundraising opportunity coming up in March, and I was wondering if you might like to tell us about that.
Thank you so much. So we have our annual Walk to End Homeless on March 27th. That is our largest fundraising event. So if you would like to visit our website, housingresourcesinc.org, to get all of the information. But it allows us to come together as a community, raise funds to help fill some of our gaps and help provide local programming and support the efforts we do. Please join us. Thank you for the opportunity to give us a plug.
Other questions?
I just have
Commissioner Juarez.
Yeah, I just have this is one of those things I've thought about all the time, right? Working in nonprofits and working with individuals who are super just marginalized, right? The most affected, right? From the homeless individual living in an encampment to the individual who needs repairs on their house, to helping people get to that class and paying the $50 for the class, right, at KNHS. One of the bigger problems as commissioners and as the vice mayor and the mayor we have to really look at is the lack of cohesiveness in these programs that exist in our community. We have a lot of silo organizations that work specifically around what they work around. And what we have to do is really understand how to collectively draw these organizations closer to each other, connect them so there's not just people going through one door and out the back into another organization and one door and out the back. We have so much education in this city, like Commissioner Hess talks about. The problem is that there is no real cohesiveness to all the organizations that offer housing or support housing or rental assistance or all these things, right? And when you have an individual who's conditioned and their dependency on going from organization to organization to organization to organization to get any kind of resource they can from that organization, that's the mentality of poverty. Existing, surviving, and where can I go next for the next thing I need? And at some point, we have to draw the line as commissioners and say to ourselves, how do we really help people? How do we ask the real hard questions? You know, money can fix problems, but not all problems. When we think about people's mindsets, that's a different ballgame, right? And so for me, I appreciate the programs. They're beautiful, they're awesome. They help people. They just sometimes can't help certain people. And sometimes, you know, it's the repetitive people you see going into your, what's the next thing can I get? What else can I get? What else can I get? At what point do we think helping actually hurts people? Enabling people to stay dependent on the resource instead of sustainability, right? If we had the mindset of sustainability and saying, hey, we want to get you from, you say this at Urban Alliance, and I know Mr. Parsons would say this, we want to work ourselves out of a job. My existence is not as important as getting the next person the support they need to sustainability, right? But not everybody thinks like that in this community. I'm expendable. I want to work myself out of a job. And that's the heart that we have to cultivate in this community when it comes to programs. That's the ecosystem we have to build where people can buy into the fact, like, you know what, maybe I might not be here in 2 or 3 years because we did our job. We did our job. But if I want to continue to just survive and be relevant, I think we have a bigger issue. But no doubt you guys are helping people. No doubt people are feeling loved and cared for by your guys' programs. I think we just need to think about a different approach when it comes to partnering with agencies and how that looks.
Thank you, Commissioner Morris. Any other questions for Jacob here from HRI? Yeah, Commissioner Pradel.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
I was going to ask you, we've asked this in the previous presentation as well, but looking in the next year ahead or the coming years, are there any challenging items that you see in the landscape that, you know, we as a community should start thinking about? Or
We over the past few years with COVID have seen a significant influx of financial assistance available to our households. Specifically at HRI, our budget went from a $3 million budget to over a $50 million budget for a couple of years with the direct client assistance and working with our partners to administer the SARA program. That is a lot of money that our community has not been used to, and we spent because there was a need. Those funds are not long-term funds, and so now we have a lot of households that are still in need of assistance and not the resources that they've been accustomed to. And I think that is challenging. That is incredibly challenging. And as Vice Mayor Cooney mentioned, we are not able to assist everybody that is coming through our doors. We have a housing crisis that is not at the feet of one agency. That, to Commissioner Juarez, is part of that. It takes collaboration between multiple different agencies and different approaches because the city of Kalamazoo is facing a housing crisis, and it's not one person can't solve it because the level of need we are seeing come through our doors, we can't assist. If everyone were to find housing tomorrow, we would not have funds to assist them. And that is a hard reality for us. Commissioner Hess.
Jacob, we know that the PODS project is coming through HRI, and I don't know how much you're prepared to say or want to say about that and where we are with that project, but it's one of the number one questions I get from my folks in the community. So I wonder if you want to address that.
Yeah, I would be happy to give a brief pod update. We have been working in partnership with the city, and are grateful for the partnership with the city, that we have signed an MOU that allows, that gives HRI the opportunity to lease or purchase a lot of land for the next 6 months. So we are currently working with a firm to develop a development plan and a site plan. But so we have signed an MOU with the city and are excited to continue the partnership and the city's commitment to the pod project as we work to really open up something that has not been done in the state of Michigan with these pods, and look at how do we do it differently and do it right. So we've been taking our time, but we have signed an MOU with the city and are working on identifying or securing a site and coming up with a plan for that site.
Vice Mayor Cooney?
So that raises a whole series of questions. One of them is it a site, or are you going to have more than one site, or what? Or is that still trying to be worked out, or what?
We have currently signed an MOU for one site. So we are looking at one location at this time.
Okay. Yes. Okay. There'll be a lot of questions about that. But, I mean, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. That's a terrific step forward. I worry about the concentration of that in one area, and if there's any other way to do that, I don't know.
And as we are working, we're going to be working with neighborhood associations and getting feedback and really making sure we hear those concerns. And it's a long process, and we are continuing that development and making sure we are considering all of those things.
Great, great.
Commissioner Decker.
Thank you, Mayor. I kind of went to what Commissioner Cooney said. There'll be a lot of questions later. But I guess I did have one question, and correct me if I heard you wrong. You signed an MOU, and I probably can't get into specifics, but an MOU for just you have 6 months to find the land, or you have just an MOU just for 6 months of that land?
No, we have an MOU for 6 months for us to either lease or purchase a particular site. So a site has been identified.
So you'll only be able to have that site for 6 months is what is that
We
what
have
I'm
to make a
hearing?
decision within 6 months. So we have,
Okay, that's what I needed.
we have 6 months to make a decision.
Okay, I thought I heard, that's why I wanted to clarify.
Yes.
Is it 6 months that you're gonna have this and you have to take everything down and put it back up, so.
No,
All right.
no, not at all.
That sounds better, thank you.
Other questions, team? Vice Mayor Cooney.
I just want to say a couple things. One, what Commissioner Juarez is talking about, collective response, that is so critical, right? Number two, you said so well that money did come in during COVID. So we know that when money comes in, we can help an awful lot of people. And the federal government found a way to do that. But now they're shutting the door and saying, well, that's over now. But the problem is not over. And somehow, I just think we as a city have to be stronger advocates. I think we have to join with the National League of Cities. I think we have to find a way to say, hey, look, what happened during COVID is what should be continuing to happen, because this problem can never be solved by the city by itself or the states by themselves. This is a national problem, and it's going to need national resources. It's the only way that this is going to be solved.
Any other questions for Jacob? I think we've got 2 more presentations here. All right, we're good. Thank you for coming in.
so much for the
Appreciate your
time.
work. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Sherilyn.
Thank you. So I just feel I need to lift up, because I heard collective response and the organizations working together. So I really need to lift up these partners that are with us today, because oftentimes I have found myself sitting back feeling like I'm watching a marathon, where one of them's running with a baton and saying, we're done, here, take it here, or we cannot do that, but we know who can. And they're sitting at tables together and working together and trying to figure out, where is my lane end or your lane begin, and how can we work together? So I can't say enough about these partners that are here, but I wanted to say that because I know they're all just doing the grind and would never stand up and say, we do that.
Yeah.
But I'll say it for them.
And we don't want to make people feel like that's not the case. I think there's other people that should be at the table that aren't at the table, like churches and employers and the healthcare industry, the education industry, that aren't there, that make it a collective, because like it's much more than just housing programs, right? There's a bigger problem here, and so no doubt we appreciate the work that's being done, right? But if the right people are at the table, we could see such an impact. We just got to cast that vision.
Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner Juarez. Next up.
So we talked about the pre-purchase, we talked about ownership, but the part of the ecosystem, people are in the house, they need help and resources, and so these next two groups are going to talk about what they do to help those that are already in the house and educate to keep that house. So next I'd like to invite Ms. Kaylin Humes from Community Homeworks.
Welcome, Ms. Caitlin Hughes. Nice to have you here.
Thank you for having
Would you like me to
us.
pass something out?
Yes, please. Thank you. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for having us. Like Ms. Sherilyn mentioned, I'm Kaylin Humes, and I'm with Community Homeworks. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about us, and then we'll have some questions at the end. So first, we are located in the Edison neighborhood, right on Bryant Street. We offer critical home repairs for homeowners facing health and safety issues within their lived environments. A part of our program as well is education, and so alongside the critical home repairs, we also offer free hands-on education programs once a week. We do those virtually and in person now, post-COVID. But the goal is really to empower families that if there's a repair that we can't take care of, we do want to help to teach them how to take care of the repairs on their own as well. And the virtual option has been super handy because people can have the YouTube channel up at the same time and kind of follow along and take care of some of those repairs at home. And we've also had some of our participants tell us too that it's helped help them feel more confident when they're getting work done on their home, maybe outside of Community Homeworks. Now they've got a little bit more knowledge to ask for the right things or notice when they're being taken advantage of or something's being done incorrectly. Right now, our service area is primarily within the city limits of Kalamazoo, but in partnership with actually KNHS, this year we will be expanding into the township with the ultimate goal being county-wide here by the end of 2024. The majority of the work that we do is within our core neighborhoods. So each year consistently, the top neighborhoods that we serve, Northside being the highest, Edison being the second highest, Eastside, and the Vine neighborhood. And I'll get into some percentage breakdowns a little bit later. So I've just got some before and after pictures for the next two slides. But I want to talk about some of the types of work that we do a part of our critical home repair program. We really focus on health and safety issues that are happening within the lived environment of the home. So we don't do cosmetic things or really extensive projects on the outside of the home. We're really focused on that lived environment. So that might look like furnace and water heater replacements, especially in the winter. That's a huge one. We do window and door repairs, some critical plumbing and electrical repairs, environmental cleanup, mold remediation, and some interior and exterior carpentry. And like I mentioned before, we really want to focus on that health and safety. That's our primary focus. We realize that a lot of these critical repairs that are needed may or often prevent families from facing housing insecurities or possible displacement if they're not being taken care of. So that is our primary focus when we're going in, is that health and safety. So over the last 2 years, we have seen a record number, or served a record number of households. We actually just got a statistic today from our fund development team that said between 2021 and 2022, we had a 53% increase in the households that we served. Typically, we were serving anywhere between 80 and 100 homes. This past year, we served, it says 114 on this slide, but after some end-of-year auditing, it was actually 118 homes that we were able to serve at the end of last year. 42 of those homes being federally funded projects through CDBG, so that grant was super helpful for us. So the percentage breakdowns. Well, before I say that, with the 42 homes that we funded through CDBG, our goal was actually 14 for last year. So we were able to exceed that goal quite a bit and are hoping to continue to do that in this current project here as well. The neighborhood breakdowns, so 34% of the homes that we served were in the north side, or on the north side. 26% were in the Edison neighborhood. East side was 9%, Vine was 5%, and Oakwood was 3%. And at the end of the year, we always want to look at the neighborhoods that we're serving just to make sure that it's in line where the most need is. And those top three, when we're looking at the areas with the highest rates of poverty, north side, east side, and Edison. And those, again, are our top three for the second year that we've been recording it, but I'm sure that since our existence in 2009, that's probably been what it's been since then. I do have a couple more stats for you. So 69% of the households that we served were less than 50% of the AMI for Kalamazoo. 70% were BIPOC-led households. And let's see. One of the things that we wanted to mention as well is last year we started 4 pilot initiatives after realizing that there were some demographics that maybe did not fit within that federal fund box. And so we thought it was really important for us as an organization to go for some additional funding that could help us take care of those families that can't be taken care of through federal funding. And so in last year, we were able to launch a program in partnership with Cradle Kalamazoo and the Kalamazoo County Health Department for expectant parents and families with children in the home. Having those non-federal funds allowed us to act a lot quicker in those situations. And so we're hoping that we'll be able to continue offering that program. But just as a team, we're able to identify that and find some funding to take care of that issue. We also launched a project through the O'Connor Fund, which was in partnership with the Historic Preservation Commission. And it helped to support homeowners who live in historic homes in districts where barriers may exist when they're looking to maintain and do certain repairs on their home. There's a lot of specifics when it comes into that, and some of those can be really pricey. And so in partnership with the Historic Preservation Commission, we were able to take care of 5 homes last year to help alleviate some of that stress in homes that were in these historic districts. We also partnered with the city again, doing code enforcement repairs. We noticed that when people are maybe have a housing violation, they're just continue to be cited and they may not be able to take care of that initial repair. but then they're still just getting those citations and not being able to take care of that root issue. So in partnership with the city, we were able to launch a program to become a resources for families who may get a citation. They can call us, we can walk them through that program and take care of that repair. And once they call us too and show that they're in partnership, they do not get cited. So it's a win-win situation, and so we're hoping to continue that. This is our first year doing it, but we are hoping to continue that in future years. And then the last pilot that I want to highlight in partnership with KNHS is our Housing for All millage funds that we've got set for the Kalamazoo Township. So last year, us and KNHS sat down for quite a few months and came up with a universal application. And so it kind of touches to your point, Commissioner Juarez, where there's ways that partners can come together and make it a little bit easier for the homeowner, whoever we're serving. And so again, in partnership with KNHS, we're able to sit down and see the similarities in our application and become kind of a one-stop shop. So we take all the information and then we do the work on the back end too to make that connection and referral. I also want to highlight too, we do quite a bit of that with Milestone Senior Services as well, where if there's paperwork that instead of having the homeowner fill it out twice, we contact their offices and figure out if we have some of the paperwork that they need so that we can close that gap and make it a little bit easier on the homeowner. So in closing, I just want to say thank you for this time and for the continued partnership too with the city. We are hoping to diversify our funds just with, we realize that, like I mentioned before, everyone doesn't fit in that federal fund box, but there are so many people that do here in Kalamazoo, and so we do appreciate the support and partnership with the city of Kalamazoo because we are able to help quite a few families. So that is all I have.
Thank you so much, and thanks for being here, talking about all those wonderful things you're involved in. Questions from Commission?
I have a lot of hard questions.
I'm already nervous.
Turn to your right.
All right.
Vice Mayor Cooney?
Well, thanks a lot for the presentation. You guys do such great work. I understand you have an outstanding director there running that program. Yeah, I know you do.
Sure about that.
I know you do. Do you have many people coming to you that you just don't have the resources to take care of?
We're closing that gap with the efforts that we're putting into diversifying our funds. Because before, when we were, I think it was like 95% of our funding came from federal sources. And so we found that when that was the case, there were quite a few people that we had to turn away. But now that we've been able to diversify our funding, and the goal is to have less than 30% of our funds come from federal sources, we've seen the change. Right now we're at about 50% of our funding is still coming from federal sources, but having that diverse funding available, we've been able to help families who might not fit into that perfect box of who federal funds say we can serve. So it's getting better, and we're hoping that it'll continue to get better.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions, commissioners?
I think I have a question for maybe Director Mitchell or Mrs. Parsons. Like a lot of times I'll hear about people who say, man, our heater went out. And I say, well, are you homeowners? They say, no, the landlord won't do it. It takes him forever to get to it. 3 weeks into the winter, they're without the heater. I call Chris, call people, hey, what's going on? So for us on our end, we have an issue with getting landlords to do things. I've never heard of like advocacy when it comes to like, how do we help individuals get the help they need with the landlords they have? Now I have a few landlords on my list that I really want to talk about, right? And I just feel like at the end of the day, we're so slow to respond to the landlord issue because they know how to play the game, right? This is disturbing to me, that landlords know how to play the game, right? Well, I'll go in there and get it fixed and appease the, you know, the ordinances of the city and figure that out. For us, like we tried to get the landlords involved and try to get them, you know, to collectively figure stuff, like, and I think the response from us has to change. What do we do about that, Mr. Mitchell?
I think the simple answer is, of course, enforcement. The timeliness of the enforcement is always like I said, the question. The problem with any, sorry to tell everyone, any government system, there will be loopholes from the federal level down to, sorry to say, the local level. What we're trying to do is hopefully work as much with the attorney's office to close those loopholes so that we have to give everyone due diligence to act to the enforcement in a timely fashion to make the correction. Like you said, most of the loopholes that they do is a timing issue, and that they play the timing game on when they do it and how they do it. But we have to do our due diligence to give them, as the landlords, time to make the correction. If they don't make the correction, that's when we make the enforcement and move forward with our legal actions to force them to make those corrections.
And I think for me, we have, you know, it just doesn't sit well with me. So maybe Kiana, if you want to go and visit Attorney Roberts and me and you go talk to him about those things, we could. I think it's time for that because it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable to see some of the conditions of these houses and the resources that these individuals can't get because they're not homeowners, because their landlords figured it out, right? So thank you for what you do.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Kaylin Humes at this point? Commissioner Decker.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Commissioner Juarez. To your point, it talks about something that the HRI said about when they can't help particular people, it's because the landlord is not responding or doesn't want to work with them, but that has to do with rents. But for KNHS, as I said before, you guys are really working on revitalizing and bringing back the housing stock that we have, especially, you know, for individuals that may be older and may not have the funds or the resources to do something like that. And I appreciate that because I also see that when you're doing this, you are also helping, again, to preserve the home for hopefully something that your executive director speaks so passionately about from our neighboring city in Ann Arbor and the home sharing. So I think, you know, when you guys are doing that, you're really setting up the city of Kalamazoo and the individuals that are in their homes to stay there. So thank you for that. And I also love the cross-partnership with all of those pilot programs. That was great to hear. That is a lot of programs that you guys have, that you've initiated and you figured out. You can't do everything with federally funded money because there's too many stipulations, too much red tape, too much paperwork, all that jazz. So being able to look elsewhere to assist our residents is awesome. And I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Community Homeworks? So once again, thank you very much for coming down here and providing us this information. And I do want to say thank you very much, Commissioner Pradel. Community Homeworks has been around for a while, and it's been in a transformative mode, I believe, since Commissioner Pradel moved into that space. And it's as you referenced, Commissioner Juarez, it's wonderful to see actually all the collaboration that is occurring in partnership, which leverages the great work that's being done. So thanks for that. Sherilyn.
Thank you. So last but certainly not least, Milestone Senior Services. Jody, and if you'll introduce your team.
I'll be quick and sweet.
This one.
Yeah, thank you. I'm Jody Vandenberg. I'm the operations manager of Milestone Senior Services. We are at the tail end of this housing crisis, really, is what we have going on. I'm here with my team, and this is kind of a new team. I got to kind of let everybody know we've kind of undergone some staff changes, but Ken Ward is now the home repair supervisor, oversees all of home repair. I oversee home repair, but he is the supervisor. And our new director of operations, Mark Leedstra, is with us today. So Miles, I'm sure everybody knows, everybody's heard of Meals on Wheels, right? That's Milestone's flagship. But our second flagship is also the My Choice Waiver Program, as well as our home repair program. And we are really trying to kind of get away not completely get away from the repair side, but our focus is that safety, that health and safety aspect for seniors. You know, our agency, we're kind of known for helping seniors, and we really strive for anybody who's over 60 and up. We will try to provide them any type of service under that health and safety modification that we can. We do collaborate with KNHS and Community Homeworks a lot. Both of us will do the documentation, and if somebody else has it, already done it, we'll do that. So we spend a lot of our time doing that. I really don't want to spend time because I know we're running a little bit behind on our mission and our vision and our values. I think everybody is pretty on top of what we do there. But you know, we do set ourselves apart from some of the other housing agencies because we do assist those older adults. Our goal is to maintain their independence and living independently in the community for as long as they can. And you know, with that, because there is, I'm going to be transparent here. There is a gap, a true gap in our funding because we need extra funds for those seniors. You know, there's so many housing needs. I mean, we're struggling in our community for housing that is not, you know, I'm not trying to downplay that, but the seniors, they have just as many needs. And even though we do work with the senior millage, the Kalamazoo senior millage, there's just not enough. There's just not enough. But that said, I provided some information for you. We've served just home repair, not Milestone Senior Services as a whole, just this one department. We served 696 clients, households last year. We also do work in Calhoun County as well, so those numbers are included in that. But similar to KNHS and Community Homeworks, our top 3 neighborhoods that we serve are the North Side, East Side, and Edison neighborhoods. Those are the 3 neighborhoods that we see a lot of need. With Commissioner Juarez's response, I'm just going to speak. We do need a platform, some type of platform where all the agencies, whether it be like one website, somebody, I don't know, where everybody can go to. It's a one-stop shop for everything because it's very time-consuming and it's frustrating for a senior to call and try and get services when we can only help with a small fraction of something. So taking Milestone out of this for a minute, just throwing it out there that we do need to find something for these seniors and some platform where we can actually help them and as a collective, because, you know, I mean, it's very difficult when a senior can only barely remember Milestone's phone number, and then you have to give them another phone number for them to call KNHS, and then KNHS has to give them another phone number so that they can call Community Home. It's just, I don't know. I don't know what the solution is, and I don't have that solution, but we need to think of something because it's a struggle. But as far as our program, we do the best that we can do to provide ramps, grab bars, handrails, toilet safety frames. But even aside of that, we do go in and do the minor home repairs outside of like those bigger projects that maybe Community Homeworks or KNHS, we partner with roofs with them. but, you know, we'll go in and help somebody in their bathrooms and do those plumbing, the water heaters, furnace repairs as well. But, you know, we understand that there's strategic partnerships and we do this already. But, you know, seniors can't perform those repairs, so we can't teach them how to do that because some of our seniors just simply cannot do that. They're just, you know, we're providing, they're in wheelchairs and we're providing them that mobility assistance throughout their home to be able to get in and out of their shower comfortably and easy. For this last year, we served 50 seniors in the CDBG census tract neighborhoods, spent out all of our funds as we do every year. Yeah, that's really all I have. So ask away.
All right. Thank you, Jody. Questions from commissioners?
Yeah, I got some hard questions. I just want to just extend like my gratitude because, you know, that's a population that's difficult to deal with. You know, my dad was 64, he passed away a couple weeks ago, and I had to do everything for him. His budgeting, his pill separation, his laundry, and it's hard.
It's hard.
It's difficult. And that's a population that really doesn't have an eye on them, you know? And there is some, you know, some stuff there, right? But when it comes to, like my dad, oh my God, you know, just, he was stubborn at the same time, you know? He didn't want to move in with any 10 of his boys that he had, right? He wanted to be at home, right? And so he should be afforded that, you know what I mean? And so I'm just very grateful for what you guys do.
Well, and I want to say that, you know, we do see the landlord situation. And not even just, you know, especially specifically in some of these neighborhoods, there are 4 or 5 apartments that, you know, these big homes that have been made into rentals. We can't go in there. It's a rental property, so we can't do it. And, you know, we've made some phone calls and we partner to try to get, because it's not fair when 4 of those homes, you know, 4 of those occupants aren't seniors, but that one is, and we can't go into that property and make those modifications because that landlord won't make the approval for that ramp to be put onto their home. So we do see it.
Vice Mayor Cooney?
Yeah, a few years ago, we brought somebody here from Ann Arbor to talk about some of the programs they had, and they talked about a one door for entry where anybody that had problems with shelter could contact this one door and they would kind of filter them out to these different things. Do we have anything like that here?
No, not to my knowledge. But,
Mr.
well, Milestone.
Mitchell?
Just real quick, it's supposed to be 211.
It's 211.
Yeah, it is,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's supposed to be 211. So,
But
so we-
that's so
Yeah,
wide.
but-
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what it's supposed to be. It's
Okay, that's what it's supposed
Yeah.
to be.
But,
Yeah.
you know, when a senior calls 211 and they get, you know, I mean, some of the seniors have dementia and there's such high turnover, it's very difficult for them to try to get the direction that they need. So we do our best on the intake side because, you know, everybody comes in through our intake system, and at that time, we're talking about, do you need meals? Do you need, you know, a repair? Do you need, what services do you possibly, they could need behavioral health. There's a huge behavioral health component in our community too that we need to address as well. So, I mean, we try to do the best that we can.
Yeah, I mean, another term is navigators. People that kind of, when people come in and then we kind of connect them up with, we did a little bit of that when we worked with people coming out of incarceration and they needed everything. And we had somebody to connect them to the different things that they need. I mean, it seems like we need something like that.
Yeah, we do, and we've actually talked a lot about that. We've talked about changing our customer service intakes names to be like navigators, or it's just, it's different because you really are navigating that senior to get the care that they need in the service that they need before. I mean, we've gone to the lengths of putting in a ramp for someone, and 2 weeks later we got to go back and get it and take it back. That's how fast, you know, things change. Especially with COVID, you just never know what somebody's care is going to be like. You just don't. But yeah, we appreciate the collaborations that, you know, we have with our partners, our community partners as well, that the city, you know, really believes in and stands behind our mission and our values. But, you know, we're always looking for more. We just got a grant to help some veterans. So we're actually hoping to be able to, you know, target some more veterans that live within those census tracts to kind of help them. But it's just not enough.
Commissioner Pradel?
Oh,
Commissioner Hess?
so one of the things that we heard about in another presentation was the home share program.
Yeah.
Where if a senior is in a home, if they have an area that could be inhabited by another resident who could actually help them navigate the world, like students, young adults,
Okay.
people moving into the city that need housing at a very low cost. Is that something that Milestone is able or could think about doing? And I mean, I know it takes resources.
Yeah.
But being that Tinder, if you will, for, you know, for people that need housing and people that want to provide housing for people in the city.
Yeah. There's definitely opportunity for us. We have lots of opportunity. If the situation presents itself, I think that we can. We have the resources as far as staff knowledge, you know, like the license builder, everything that we, you know, we're undergoing a capital campaign right now for some changes structurally. I think that we could end up going a different route in the next year or two. Because there is a senior, I want to give an example. So we have a senior that we do a lot of work for. She lives in a mobile home. She owns that mobile home. But it's not livable. We work with APS very closely. We can't displace her. Where would she go? There's nowhere for her to go. So, you know, along with these programs, we're able to, you know, do the pest remediation. We're able to get her hot water heater. We're able to keep her furnace running, feed her pets, because her pets are all she has. Those are all she has. That's her life. Those are her family. And we have a program to do that as well, and we provide her meals. But again, you know, we're talking about, you know, the housing on that front end, or, you know, that middle-aged families. What about the seniors? They have nowhere to, I mean, she's lucky that she owns her mobile home, and she's not living somewhere and can't pay rent because she would be evicted. And so between Milestones and our volunteer service program, we're working with transportation to try to get her to and from the Kalamazoo Humane Society to make sure that her pets are taken care of. And, you know, there's just, so eventually down the road, I think that Milestone can definitely step in and help with the housing if it pertains to some seniors and helping with that safety and health factor. Yeah, I do.
Commissioner Pradel?
Thank you guys for being here. It's good to see it all. I think something that's really unique and special about the work that you're doing is that it's not just about making repairs to, you know, keep things healthy and safe, but also the barrier reduction and the accessibility that help enable people to live independently in their home for, you know, much longer. And I was just wondering if you could speak a little bit about that, you know, and how you know, how that works with.
Yeah, sure. So typically what happens is when someone calls in, they don't even know that they have a barrier problem. They maybe had a stroke, or maybe something happened, and they had a health crisis where they ended up realizing that they have some issues. We end up having Ken, who's our supervisor. We have a couple techs, but Ken is the supervisor, so he'll go in and do a safety assessment. So he goes into the home, he does a complete safety assessment of the home and determines what needs this individual needs. If they're in a wheelchair, obviously it's how are they getting in and out of their home. During COVID, we dealt with a huge influx of people that were homebound, could not get out of their home because there was nowhere, nobody was open. We were, but nobody was open to build them a ramp to be able to get them out. So he'll determine all of that. He'll go into the bathrooms, kitchens, and see where, how tight the space is. I mean, you could tell half the time the towel bar is ripped out of the wall. So he knows that he needs to put a grab bar up in that area because otherwise, they're gonna fall. And in the bathrooms, toilets, a lot of these older homes, especially in the north side, the toilets are very low to the ground. So he will either replace the toilet or put like the risers on for them so that they can safely. But he does that entire, he goes through the whole house to make sure that any barrier that is in their way is repaired and fixed so that they can, survive, live as long as they can in their home safely. And once that's done, they're kind of already like in our system, so then that system can continue. They can call us. We've kind of built that relationship, and then if there's any other need down the road, they'll give us a call, and then we can go back out and reassess it. Because a lot of times we'll assess it, and we'll maybe install 2 grab bars, but they'll get another phone call a month later that they realize they need way more than what we've already provided, and we'll go back and do that for them.
Ken, I don't even know you, but I know from the line of work that you have to be a very special person to do what you do. And the reason why is because I think especially in this work, you really need to be somebody that's really skilled, and skilled trades, and obviously you being somebody that has a builder's license. But a lot of times in these roles, you end up being somebody who really is almost a social worker as much as anything as well, because, and to find somebody who has both sides of the brain to do that work is pretty special. I was just wondering if you consider speaking to that a little bit.
Yeah, so it's really hard to go into a lot of the houses because the seniors are stubborn. They don't want the help. They're, a lot of the times it's the daughter that has called us and said, hey, my dad or my mom needs help. And so it's going out there and seeing where you can tell they touch the door frame, and you're like, hey, if I put this bar here, would that help you at all? And just kind of make them think it's their idea versus me telling them that they need it there. And then after a minute, they're like, oh, well, yeah, I guess that would help me, get through the door frame or get over that step a little bit easier, or get in the shower or out of the shower or out of bed. So there's a lot of that stuff that while we're out there, you got to kind of play to their ego a little bit and make it seem like it's their idea. And there's a lot of that out there, and there's some of them are just too stubborn to call. We get a lot of children that call for their parents, hey, my parents need help. I don't know what to do, how to do it. A lot of people rely on a towel bar as a grab bar. A towel bar and a grab bar are not the same thing. And the suction cup ones that you stick to the shower, those should be outlawed. Those really should be outlawed. I can't tell you how many homes I've gone into, and there's a lot out there. And then the ramps is one thing that we really do a lot of as well. I think we did 88 last year. Or,
I did more than that.
I mean, we're doing between Kalamazoo and Calhoun County. I mean, we're doing almost 100 ramps a year, if not more. And there's a need for the ramps, and they're costly, unfortunately.
Yeah, with the supply chain issue, and then inflation, everything goes up, and when you're only given an X amount on for the grant, then that means that you're only going to be able to provide X amount of ramps under that grant because the cost has gone up. So it does become where we have to be a little bit creative and pull from different pots to try to serve that client. Which we do have a new grant writer, which has been great, and she's very wonderful in trying to find us some other funds because our goal is to stick to those seniors, and then hence she just got us that veterans grant, so that's pretty that helps us to stretch those dollars even further.
And another thing I'll say about the ramps as well is we use a lot of volunteers at our
Sure.
organization, and they've gotten the ramps down to the point now where if we install one and something happens to that senior in that home and they're no longer in that home, we've got it down so that we can go recover that ramp and reuse parts of it at other ramps to help spread the funds that we do have out more to more clients in the neighborhoods.
I love the idea, incorporating the elderly to figure stuff out, right? I do that to Don Cooney all the time. He thinks paying breakfast, for breakfast is his idea. It's always great. No, but that is amazing. That is super amazing.
Other questions for Milestones? All right, seeing none, thank you so much. Appreciate that. I know you're going to stick around. Is that, or come back? Is that right? I know we've got a March for Meals proclamation happening in our business meeting. It starts at 7. As a contractor myself, who actually used to build ramps for senior services way back in the day when senior services was located downtown, adjacent to the Rickman House there on, yep. Yeah, used to do that a long time ago. So appreciate your work.
Still accepting volunteers. I remember seeing that program too, anytime.
Mayor Anderson has a lot of time to volunteer. Don't worry.
Director Mitchell.
Yeah, just in closing, as you can see, we provide just a handful of housing providers to give a presentation. There's more than that in our community. Commissioner has brought up the churches. We are working with the churches as a city to do development projects. Of course, Mount Zion has a senior project. We have a couple other senior projects that are happening. Hopefully, we'll be working with some of our senior homeowners to transition to some of these new locations to create new home ownership in our community. So some of our seniors can provide another family with some brand new housing in our north side, Edison, and other neighborhoods. So we're working on those initiatives, and we wanted to make sure that thank our presenters. We really thank them for being our partners. These are the partners that are taking money from us as a city to impact the community, which we're very thankful for. But we have other organizations in the community that we hopefully will be partnering with as well. And then we are also working with the neighborhood associations as well with housing development projects too. So there's many other partners that the city is working with to assist with our housing needs that we talk about. Not all of them are taking dollars from the city to implement. They are finding other dollars in the community to assist with the development projects that they're working on. And so hopefully down the road, we'll be able to present some of those other organizations to this commission on some of the projects they're working on as well. But there's a number of groundbreakings that will be coming up that we'll be getting you involved with to see all the great housing development projects we have in the city throughout downtown and Northside, Edison, Vine, and so forth. But hopefully soon, I attended the Jackway 12th annual luncheon last week, and it was a great presentation with 152 PowerPoint slides they went through. And one thing that was most impressive was how many housing development projects that they brought up that we have in the city that's coming. And I know we talked about this before, but seeing it, as they say, on the big screen really made a difference, going like, we got a lot of work. And I've met with Director Baker on how much infrastructure we got to do for all these projects. But we're very excited of all the opportunities we have that this commission is going to be a part of. And hopefully we'll have you at every groundbreaking to dig a little shovel. And it'll be a lot warmer, I heard, at the next, hopefully, groundbreaking you guys attend. So if there's any other questions you have for myself or staff, we'll be willing to answer any final questions.
Questions, commissioners? All right. So, thank you, Director Mitchell, and thank you, Shirley Parsons. I appreciate everyone who made the effort to come in and talk to us this evening, and looking forward to a productive 2023. So let's stay in touch, Let's keep that partnership fresh and keep doing this work together. So thank you so very much. Any commissioner comments? Vice Mayor Cooney.
Yeah, I just want to say, we are so grateful for the wonderful work you guys are doing out there. And it's just, our job is to look at the gaps and say, hey, what can we do to fill those gaps? But you guys are doing wonderful stuff. And I just want to say, if we're talking about housing and good things that are happening in the city, I just want to mention that the mayor sitting over here has a lifetime of contributing to housing in this city, and I'm so grateful for all the great things he has done.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Yeah.
Commissioner Juarez.
I just want to share this. You know, I'm a man of faith, and you know, that's a huge component for me, right? And the scripture just comes to mind when I think about the work you guys do. Okay, so if you're not a person of faith, that's fine. I just want to share this because it's meaningful, right? In the book of John, in chapter 15, 11 verse, you know, the Lord's talking to his disciples, and it's a monumental moment where it's a transition from how he views them and how they view him. In verse 11 it says, I have told you this so that my joy may be in you, okay? And that your joy may be complete. My command is this: love each other as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friend. And you are my friend, right? And the things you guys do, coming into work every day on the work week, taking it home, going to sleep with that understanding of what more could I've done, is not unseen. It's very appreciated. Because of you and how you have chose to lay down your life in whatever position that you have, somebody else gets to live. And that is the Lord's heart. And so I thank you for that.
Thank you, Commissioner Juarez. Any other comments from commissioners this time? Right, seeing none, just a reminder, our business meeting starts in a few minutes here at 7 o'clock in these chambers. And we'll have an opportunity for public comments at that meeting as well. But this meeting is now adjourned.